Now, we believe we have said enough for today. There is another who would like to come forward to help and assist you with your guidance. We understand there are questions on the jinn, and we would like to address these first before the individual comes forward.
Okay.
Now,
what is a jinn?
A jinn is a multidimensional being, one who is present in, we would say it can take physical form, and it can be presented in many different shapes and sizes. A jinn is one of near eternal magnitude, one that has great ability, but has the mind of a human. Now, we would say this because they are limited in their concept of mind, yet their power and ability is not limited in the same way. This is why they can create trouble for some individuals and create turmoil where they tend to set their emotions upon something or someone, like a possessive boyfriend or girlfriend. This can happen in such circumstances of what a jinn is. But a jinn, we would say, is one who is connected with all, but does not know that they are.
Oh,
Wow.
that's a shame.
Yes, it is like a soul trapped part way from being eternal and being mortal.
Is this something that they can free themselves from?
Oftentimes, they do not have the conscious awareness of mind to be able to see that they are in the current state that they are. So they are blessed and cursed at the same time.
Wow.
How do they become a jinn? How does a jinn become a jinn?
They become lost on their path. We would say after the process of disincarnation, when one loses the physical body and becomes, well, what they already are, which is an energetic force, while moving back to what they believe is source, there are fields that one soul can run into. This field can cause disruption and confusion within the soul. It can zap it, one might say. And this zapping can separate the soul's memories from its eternal composition. When this happens, it creates a distorted reflection. And this distorted reflection is that of the jinn and what they are.
Sounds like purgatory.
It is like purgatory.
Yeah.
That's so interesting because when they used to send me out sometimes with the SSP, it's almost like they're sending me to scavenge and get to different locations. I feel like I went through dimensions or something where I would witness people like this that were like caught, like they were partially in, partially out, and it was kind of agonizing to witness, you know, especially as an empath, even though I was moving fairly quickly through what they were sending me through.
Yes, this makes sense.
How does a jinn, who helps, is there you would think there would be a set party or group that would be assigned to waking these disincarnates up?
Well, they are up.
Do you know what I mean? So if a jinn is stuck in between worlds, are there groups of spirits or entities that are designed to kind of go in as as an assist?
Yes, but they are few and far in between. These are groups of eternal beings that wander the universe, helping lost souls find their way back to the place where they belong. But the jinn is not one of two worlds necessarily. It is one that is completed, but also fractured.
Wow.
And the part that is fractured thinks that it is limited when it is not. This was quite a loud noise.
That's a jinn.
Can a jinn be removed from a person?
Can you repeat the
And
question?
if so, how? Can a jinn be removed from a person? And if so, how?
The jinn must be allowed to choose.
Uh,
This is the difficulty of a jinn. Because they have consciousness as you and I, they must make the decision whether they choose to leave or choose to not leave. And if they do not make the decision, then they cannot easily be forced. This is why they must be convinced of a way of something that is more appealing than the present target.
So it's not just like an entity that just enter your field without consent. Somehow it choosing to affect you, let's say how David's clients are affected by it. It can affect you and kind of manipulate your energy for its own desired outcome. And you don't have your consent to just say, no, it's not enough for it to stop.
Well, the way you frame it, it sounds like a more malevolent being that is kind of tormenting and playing with you. But it is true that the jinn has a human-like mind. They have love, they have affection for individuals. But sometimes the human cannot often see the jinn. And when they cannot see the jinn, then the jinn becomes upset because they're not being loved.
Oh, wow.
Because they are becoming jealous of another relationship that the person might be having in this life, because they do not even understand that the jinn is present, and the jinn can become upset.
Wow.
so can any of that echo or mirror
Is there a way
aspects?
that David can see the jinn in the client?
We understand that Tana has some connection issues, so we would ask you again, Annie, what was your question?
Can any of that be a mirror or reflection of the actual soul or personality that it is infringing upon? Can some of that also be because that particular human carries some dissonance within them that is mirroring the jinn?
There must be some component within that individual that is attracting the jinn.
Gotcha.
Right.
So that mirror reflection, as you are talking of, this is what the jinn has been attracted to initially. This distortion of reflection, this is what they are appealing to. Tana, can you re-ask your question, please?
Yes. Is there a way that David can see the jinn in his client so that he's able to help it remove or encourage it to leave?
Yes. The jinn is not in the client, not like an entity, not like an ambivalent or malevolent being. Now, because of they are not within the field, one must be able to see the fields around the individual, and not just the fields around them, but the fields of presence that exist in the house and around the house, as the jinn is not a stationary being like an entity may be. Jinns move from place to place. They go shopping for groceries. They go to the mall. They fly through the stars. They come back. They do errands. They have everyday lives like you and I. Perhaps not I, but perhaps like you. And because they do this, although you do not see them floating with groceries or trying on clothes, they are present in consciousness. So they will move from location to location very quickly. You would not be able to see them as they move. So this is the difficulty in removing the jinn. It is not only understanding the jinn, relating to the jinn, and finding out a way to speak with it and convince it that it is not in a proper location at this time, but it is also to be able to find them as they are always moving
Okay.
in
Is there,
space and time.
is there just like there's light languages, is there actually a language resonance that can be used to connect to jinn, to even if you, especially in your client's case, that you know they're existing, to somehow reach a communication?
Yes, there is a language of the jinn, but this is not recommended,
Uh,
as When one says it, it will bring many jinn to the area.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Are there any jinns here now?
Your definition of here is in this present moment.
With any of us? Yes,
No, this is
exactly.
not the case.
Okay.
And that is a good thing, because they can be tumultuous beings, as they are limited by their humanity, we would say.
Okay, so if they come through, let's say they are encouraging this couple to get pregnant so that it can be incarnated again, and they are incarnated, why is it so chaotic?
It is because there is a massive energy flux. It will cause great disruption to the physical body when it enters, because the jinn is not limited. It is limited in its mind. It is limited in what it believes it can do, but it is unlimited in its energy. And because of that, it does not properly shrink itself down to fit into the subjective embodiment, we would say.
Wow.
So it is,
Like
yeah,
a baby with a gun.
it is like a baby with a bomb inside.
Wow.
Wow.
But we like your analogy as well. But we would say that a gun can be aimed, a bomb cannot.
Wow.
Wow.
What's the difference between a jinn and a genie?
This is a good question. A genie is one who has some understanding of their abilities, has some understanding of their capabilities, and can tap into somewhat of their energetic force. Yet they still remain with the minds of man, limited in this way, limited by emotions, train of thought, repetitiveness, and also stagnancy.
Are there any jinns living on Earth right now that we would know about?
Physically incarnated jinns?
Yes.
No, there are none.
There are none.
There are none.
Out of 8 billion.
7.856 billion, we believe.
Oh, wow. Okay.
As we said, they are like bombs. And most often, bombs are created to not last a very long time.
Okay.
So do they break into smaller pieces and in their fracturing? What happens that way?
Well, it is almost like a cosmic event, because when a jinn incarnates, it creates. For you who are familiar with Star Wars, when the Death Star explodes, it creates a ripple that is similar to Saturn's ring.
Mhm.
This ring expands outwardly, as is such the case when a jinn incarnates. When this happens, it causes a cascading effect on all of the souls who it comes in contact with.
Wow.
When this happens, each of the soul that is touched by the explosion of the jinn, we will call it for now, as we are limited to terminology in this regard, will be affected in a negative way. It will cause each of these souls to be displaced partially, and will cause fragments of each consciousness to be separate from the main body of that incarnated being. When this happens, the radius can be quite large, and it can cause a lot of trouble for your secret space program, for special programs that exist on the planet, and even problems for galactic individuals who are doing missions on the planet.
Wow. So are there any recommendations that we can offer to the one of David that is working with 2 different clients related to the jinn?
We can only offer this message, that jinn are a force that cannot be underestimated, for it is small in mind, but great in stature. It is a boundless being that knows not what it is, like a child with a gun, as Elise said, and it knows not what it can do, like a baby snake or viper who does not know how much venom it holds. Jinn hold great danger in their ability, and when untempered, the emotions can take hold, creating for a dangerous being when not properly dealt with.
But they can be made aware to go back to source. Like, how do you help it go back? Okay, what do they need to do to stop being jinns?
Well, they must be reunited with their fractured consciousness of what they have. And this is a very difficult task, one that not many humans on Earth would be able to achieve. Not even those ascended monks and things of this nature. It would require an extremely experienced soul with an understanding of consciousness and time to be able to allow the jinn to enhance themselves in a way that they could become a genie once again. And then the next step is to become a soul, a united soul. So they must be trained in how to reach that state of mind again.
And for that, they need to be willing.
Oh, yes, of course.
So I always have some sort of analysis that comes up related to my history. And the question that has coming up for me is related to why at this time the one of David has attracted two different clients. Is it some intentional disharmony, purposeful to have some kind of effect on the work that we're doing as a group?
No, it is merely a raising of awareness.
Okay.
If he was not presented with such clients, then he would not be questioning the nature of the jinn.
Okay.
If he was not asked the question of the nature of jinn, then you would not be having this conversation. Therefore, you would not understand what a jinn truly is.
Okay, good. That makes me feel better.
Yes, we are not attracting the jinn.
As you complete,
Please continue.
as you and David complete your integration, would you be able to help the people his two clients?
Yes, but not until our transmutation is complete, we would say.
Okay.
Excellent question. Yes, this would take approximately 4.6 years, roughly. All good things come with time.
So he won't be able to help. So he won't be able to help these people until you've finished integrating?
That is correct.
Wow. What can these people do to find peace or to be aware to release this being?
All they can do is hold on to their chair.
Oh, wow. Can they talk to it themselves?
They can, yes. This is the only way that they can, we apologize, find comfort in the situation. But to understand the jinn's mind is to understand something that you have never met before.
Right.
It is like speaking with a shadow of a person, and you do not know how they will react to a particular situation or conversation. If you do not understand how they will react, then you do not want to say something that will upset them.
Right.
If you do, they may lash out.
Oof.
Yes, it is an unfortunate circumstance to have a jinn in your life. But there are ways to remediate the jinn from the field. One would need to create a bond with the jinn that would help to establish some sense of camaraderie and understanding that you can speak with the jinn whenever you wish, like a higher self, for example, like a spirit guide. And if that, once that connection is established, then one may be able to convince the jinn over a period of time that they are a jinn. And if this is the case, then the jinn may find its own way back home. But this is the only way that we can see.
But the jinn would then, the natural progression is to convince the jinn that it is a jinn, and then it turns into a genie.
Yes.
And it can turn back or refragment into a soul, or I don't know the correct term.
Yes, it is not refragment, but we would say reforge the soul. It is a broken piece, and it must be brought back to its original vigor. So, but you are correct, yes.
So where did this idea of genies and the wishes come from? Is that just myth?
It is not myth, it is truth. And genies can stay dormant for very long periods of time, as can jinn, as was the circumstance of the client. But what happens is when they wake up from large surges of energy, like the rubbing of Aladdin's lamp, this caused an awakening of the genie. Now, genies have some remembrance of their ability. Because they can remember who they are, they have access to their abilities somewhat. Because they can access their abilities, they can manifest instantly. And this is why Aladdin was created. The Disney movie, for you who are not familiar.
So can this happen to just any person living? They become jinns if they don't totally go to the light and like.
Yes.
How can you avoid it?
Move with grace.
Move with grace. So like accept things as they are, just like if you're dying, just go to the light, don't fight it.
It is a complicated answer because it is complicated to navigate a soul after it leaves the body. So we cannot give you the answer to your question because it is a question that if we answer incorrectly, it would send someone off the proper path and some into the proper path. And we would prefer not to send someone off of their course that they would naturally find their pathway back to the light. We hope you understand.
I do.
Very good. Are there any other questions on jinn or genie? Very good. We will adjust the body and we will make space for our guest.